Hey guys, Dr. Kyle Loveless here. Hey, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you probably have migraine issues or dealing with migraines, or maybe someone else you know has migraine headaches. And I'm gonna share with you 3 things in this video that I found to be the most common things in the last 10 years in practice that have led or causing people's migraine headaches. And so that you can finally get some answers on what's causing your headaches and do something about it for yourself. Hey, also take a moment and really just click the like button on this video, but also subscribe to our channel so that you can continue to get health videos and videos that will teach you how to really become your own health expert. All right, so migraine headaches. This is something as a chiropractor, as a natural doctor over the last 10 years that I see on a weekly basis, really, many times even on a daily basis. And just in the last 3 days, I've had patients come in, 3 patients come in with migraine headaches as new patients, and they all actually all had the same exact thing that they were dealing with. And it's actually the first thing I'm going to go over today because it's actually really common. But the big thing is each one of these patients had been to a lot of different doctors, a lot of different neurologists. They've been to chiropractors, they've been to physical therapists, but they're still having migraines. And after going through an evaluation and what I found here for all 3 of them is something that no one's ever told them before. And so I think this is going to be really valuable for you. It's something that not everybody really looks at, but it's actually really common. And so the number one thing, not number one, but first thing I'm going to talk about is something called Lar Ligament Damage, okay? And that might mean nothing to you right now, but the upper part of your neck right here, you have a bone. It's called the atlas, and the atlas is that top bone in your neck, which the skull sits on top of, kind of like a globe sits on the atlas, right? And in that atlas, there's a second bone called the C2 bone, the second bone in your neck, and it has a dens that the atlas sits on. It's a bone that sticks up and sits on that den, and that's how your neck head rotates, okay? And so we'll have a picture here for you to look at, but ultimately, that dens and that atlas have to be connected together, and they're connected together on each side of the dens with a ligament called the alar ligament. And that ligament helps hold your head really, in some ways, on. So when you tilt your head so it doesn't shift this way and shift that way, it gives you stability when you're rotating, when you're tilting your head. And it's actually a very common ligament to be torn. And it's not something that a lot of doctors look for. Some of the main ways you can tear this ligament are car accidents. One of the most common ways is if you're staring in the rearview mirror, somebody hits you from behind and you boom, whiplash like that, it can actually tear those ligaments. One of the patients today, the reason that we kind of came down to by talking to her is that her alar ligament problem actually came from years of sleeping like this on her stomach, twisting that ligament for hours at a time, and over time it just became very lax and created this alar ligament. Now the way a doctor can tell if you have alar ligament damage, there's some tests they can do. When you tilt your head back, if you kind of shift off like that, that's a likelihood. Another test they can do is take an x-ray with your mouth open and look at the top bone, the atlas, and you can see that dens and the atlas together, and you can see the gap between there. And if one side's bigger than the other, again, that's a red flag that you might have alar ligament damage. The final way is that open mouth x-ray, like that, with your head tilted, okay, to one side or the other. And if that atlas shifts off of the C2 bone, or the second bone in your neck, that means you have alar ligament damage and you can actually see it hanging off. This was all 3 of those patients in the last 3 days. Every single one of them having really severe migraine headaches. And the good news is we're gonna be able to help them because we're gonna adjust that neck differently than if they didn't have alar ligament damage. What's interesting is all 3 of those same people went to chiropractors and they said when they got adjusted, they had migraines the next day. And so that's a good sign that if you got chiropractic care, you had an adjustment, that your migraines got, and you actually had a migraine, that you could have actual upper cervical alar ligament damage. And so what do we do about that? Well, we do chiropractic care, but it's a different type. It's not a lot of the rotation, more traction, and more different types of adjustments like that, but also it's strengthening the muscles around it, because it's a ligament. So just like your knee is your ACL is a ligament, and you tear that ACL, it's not gonna repair itself, it has to get surgically repaired. Well, we're not gonna surgically repair up here, so ultimately you have to strengthen the muscles around it. So there's certain exercises that we teach patients to do to strengthen that alar ligament, okay? And if you're interested in those exercises, go into the comments. I'll actually put a link there. I'll do another video just on alar ligament strengthening, and you can see exactly what strengthening exercises to do. But first you have to know, is it both ligaments, or is it just one side, so you know which exercises to do? That comes with an x-ray. So number one, the first thing that I really commonly see in migraine headaches that is very often misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all is lar ligament damage. And so the reason that causes migraines. So you're like, okay, well, that makes sense. Well, why do you get migraines from it? Well, the vertebral artery goes right through that first bone, that atlas that I just talked about. And it feeds all the blood supply to your brain. And the reason we get migraines most commonly is because there's not enough blood flow, not enough oxygen getting to your brain. And you can tell that. It hurts like there's not enough oxygen getting to your brain. And so that can come just from upper cervical lar ligament damage. The second thing that I almost always see, and I hate to put broad spectrum, things like that, but it is really this common, is subluxation in that same area, okay? So maybe not lar ligament damage, but it's subluxated, it's locked up. The joint isn't moving properly. One sign right here that you have subluxation in that top part of your neck is when you turn your head, if you can't get each chin to each shoulder evenly, if it's restricted one way or the other, good possibility that's subluxated. Or if you tilt your head back and it feels like it's locked up here, same thing down, those movements should be happening. At the same time, if you have a lot of tension, right, these occipital muscles are just very tight all the time, well, they'll lock up with lar ligament damage, but they'll also lock up just when the cervical spine is subluxated. And that stress response that comes from that area that's subluxated can affect the vertebral artery, can affect oxygen and blood flow to the brain, it can affect all the muscles and the nerves that come all the way around the head. And you can see in the picture that will pop up here that you have nerves that go all around your head. And so anything up here can absolutely affect that. And then finally, it'll affect your whole body because your vagus nerve, your relax, digest food, sleep, everything else comes from up here. And so it can cause digestive problems, all other kinds of health issues as well. But specifically with migraines, atlas subluxation is extremely common. And how do we take care of that? We do chiropractic adjustments specifically based on x-rays to make sure we get movement, full range of motion into the spine, retrain the muscles so that it doesn't keep coming back and forth like a lot of times when you go to chiropractic care, and so that it actually lasts. Okay. The third thing, and the third and final thing that I find to be very, very common with migraine headaches is actually certain deficiencies. One is anemia. Iron deficiency, certain types of anemia like iron deficiencies or even B12 deficiency is very common, and that affects the oxygen and blood flow to the brain. The other deficiency that I find very common is magnesium deficiency and potassium. So not having enough electrolytes in the body will actually cause that arterial walls to constrict because they're muscles and they need those electrolytes, which decreases blood flow to the brain. So those right there, those three things, very, very common reasons for migraines, not the only reasons. There's a lot more to it. A lot of times we have to do other testing. Sometimes it's gut issues. Sometimes it's hormonal issues that are coming from other symptoms, like issues with female organs or male organs as well. And so it takes investigation. It takes continuing to search, like I always say, and really becoming your own health expert by educating yourself on how your body works. Get the right test, find the right doctor that's gonna help you. And if you want help finding those kind of tests, what you should do, feel free to connect with us. You can actually go in the comments below and there'll be links with how to connect with us, but also there'll be a link for an inflammation ebook. And that inflammation ebook is gonna teach you about inflammation. And inflammation is the root of everything I just talked about. It really stems and causes a lot of the problems we're dealing with. But I'm going to teach you how inflammation is actually a good thing in that book and how you can help keep your body from creating so much of it for reasons that you don't want it to be there. Okay? So thanks so much for watching the video. I hope that you got a lot out of it, and we'll see you at the next video.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you want to connect with us and learn more, we're constantly shooting information or shooting videos. We actually have a blog as well, and we have a website where you can learn so much more. If you want help with your health, you can actually connect with us, come into our clinic, or jump on a phone call with us and see if we can help you. To do that, go to the links below in the information area and click those areas, and then you can move forward and see how we can actually address and help you with your health issues as well.